We didn't really have a plan, did we? And it grew so quickly.
We got 130,000 followers in 24 hours. And it was just like, it floored me. What have we done?
We tried to like morph ourselves into someone that we wasn't. So we found ourselves in moments where we'd burnt ourselves out trying to be all these different things, and then sat back and was like, is this even right?
But for me, it's as long as you feel happy, nobody else matters. Everything else is just noise.
Hello and welcome back to the NatWest Business Show. I'm your host, Angelica Bell, and this season we're talking to inspiring business owners who sprint headfirst into adventure and opportunity. Joining us this week are Kiera and Aimie Lawlor-Skillen, founders of the Manchester-based Feel Good Club. Now, their mission is to spread positivity, love, and normalise talking about feelings no matter what gets in their way. Kiera and Aimie turned their business from a project in their spare room into a physical space where they serve coffee by day and host incredible events by night where people can feel accepted and comfortable, all with mental health and positivity in mind. So please do welcome Kiera and Aimie.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
I'm feeling the positive energy
Spread
right
it
now.
Spread it.
It's
natural.
Fill in the room.
Oh my gosh.
Love it.
So before we get to your awe-inspiring journey, we ask every guest to tell us a business confession, something that you learned along the way. Maybe you felt vulnerable, you made a mistake, but it sort of propelled your business. So what is your business confession?
So I think our business confession is that we have spent more time than we probably care to admit or talk about crying in our front room, wondering whether we made the right decision. Because Feel Good Club was never really supposed to be a business. It all kind of came from something that I needed to, when I was struggling with my own mental health, I needed to channel the negativity I was feeling into something positive. So the very early inception of Feel Good Club came back in 2015. I was struggling from an eating disorder and I decided that I was going to channel that into something positive. So I started Feel Good Club, sat on the floor in our studio apartment, sharing parts of my story and my journey, hoping that it would help other people as well. And then I started making candles too on the side, but it was a tiny studio apartment. We had no money to invest into it. So I was using the same pots and pans that we were eating from to make the candles. And one day Aimie got home from work and said, I'm sick of finding wax in my food now. Like,
and the candles don't smell of anything.
Yeah.
We can't sell candles that have no scent.
Yeah. So we put it to one side. And then in 2018, we got married and Aimie came home one day and said that her 9 to 5 wasn't fulfilling her and said, shall we start Feel Good Club again? But we kind of hit that same problem. We had no money to invest. We didn't know what we were doing. And we kind of came to we knew the purpose. We knew that we wanted to make people feel good. We wanted to be the voice that I needed to hear when I was struggling most. And then one day we got a surprise refund that we wasn't expecting. And £500 came into our bank account. And we took that as a sign that we should start.
So we bought a screen printer, we bought a sewing machine, we put it in our spare little baby room in the house. We rang my mum and said, can you come teach us how to sew? We're going to start this clothing brand. And my mum was just like, okay, don't ask any questions. Started sewing, jumped onto the internet, started learning how to screen print T-shirts, started screen printing T-shirts, built our own website and said, let's just see what happens.
But I think what came with that was that we had a lot of self-doubt because we didn't know what we were doing. And I think we started reading a lot of books about business and thought, this is what we need to know, this is what we need to understand. And we tried to like morph ourselves into someone that we wasn't. And I think that caused a lot of self-doubt. So we found ourselves in moments where we'd burnt ourselves out trying to be all these different things and then sat back and was like, is this even right? But then when we took it back to who we are, what our purpose is, to make people feel good, then that's the business. That's who we are.
I wonder how many times throughout this business I've actually said, this is a terrible idea.
Literally every big moment, I think the clothing, starting that partly went wrong.
So on day one, we built the website, did pre-orders. As we was trying to make the T-shirts, our first ever T-shirt, the screen broke. And if you've ever done screen printing before, it takes 8 hours to burn another screen. And we didn't have a spare screen because we didn't think that far ahead to even buy a spare screen. So from day one, I sat on top of the stairs, crying my eyes out and said to Kiera, what were we thinking? This was a terrible idea. Anyway, got through that, opened the coffee shop, opened the doors. What were we thinking? This is a terrible idea.
Kitchen was too small. Walls started melting. Had to stop serving food. Aimie was like, "It's a terrible idea. What are we doing?" Even like partly with the book, when we published the book, the pre-orders went out early, and then we realised, oh my God, this is such a big thing. We've put all of our deepest thoughts and feelings into something physical that's going to be in the world forever. And you were like, is this a good idea?
So basically, the inception for your business sort of flourished from a moment of despair?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one goal that we had when we started, it was to give ourselves some purpose. And it was also, I was in a better place where I could really try and help to be that voice that I needed to hear when I was struggling most. So our goal was obviously the 10,000 followers, let's get the swipe up, but it was to make one person feel good about themselves every single day. And we started, and it just worked, didn't it? Yeah. People resonated with it.
Why do you think people resonated with that? Because, one thing about your page, which I've looked at, is that, you embrace your vulnerability, your rawness, which a lot of businesses struggle with. Mm-hmm. So is that the connection? Is this a success?
I think it comes from just being ourselves, because there was no big goal or big dream at the start. It was just kind of like, let's just post, and if people like it, they like it. If somebody other than my mum likes it, it's been a good day. And it kind of just stepped from that. I always remember when we first opened the coffee shop, there was a mum there with a little baby, and I was like playing with the baby, and I was like laughing and joking with the baby and walking around, and she was just staring at me non-stop. And I was like, oh, sorry, did you want another coffee or something? Can I help you? And she was like, I just can't believe you're actually the person that you are online. It's very rare that you see that these days. It was never money driven, or it was never, oh, we want to get the coffee shop, or we want to get a hotel, or we want to get this and we want to get that. It was just, let's just try and make people feel good. And I think we're just naturally happy and feel good people. So it's just a natural thing for us.
Okay, but you're making out as if it's easy, and it is for you. You're, not showing that naturalness, but some businesses, like I said, do struggle with that, to expose themselves. How do you manage that? Are there days where you just don't want to do that? Or, or do you just think, my community accepts that? And what advice would you give to other businesses who want to tap into that?
I think it's being yourself, and it's also having that purpose of, okay, I'm going to feel slightly uncomfortable for a few moments, but that's going to make so many other people feel comfortable. And we've had a lot of people in our lives who have really, really believed in us. So from the next step from the spare room and starting that Instagram page was, again, we had no money, but we decided we were going to start making some clothing, so that the clothing, basically, when you're putting that on, it reminds you of all the things that Feel Good Club stands for. It reminds you if you're having a bad day, you can get through it. In my previous job, I was Director of Happiness and People, and I was helping to build environments in workplaces that kind of cared for their teams. And a person that I met through, and he's like our angel, isn't he? A guy called Atul. He's 60 years old, interior designer, really well respected within Manchester. And I was working on an office with him in New York, and he asked me what Feel Good Club was. He could see that me and Aimie were working on something. And I told him, and I said, eventually what we want to do, we're building this community online, but we want to bring that into the physical world. No idea how I'm going to get there or how we're going to do it. We want a physical space. And he turned around and he said, you can do it. Leave it with me. Couple of weeks later, I'm back in Manchester in the office, and he bursts through and says, I've got the person who's going to borrow you the money, and he's going to give you the space as well. And I was like, whoa. And he was like, just send him your business plan tomorrow. No idea how to write a business plan. So called Aimie. We need to Google again how we write a business plan. Wrote it and sent it off. And there was no real financial figures or value in there. It was about how we wanted to make people feel when they came into this space and why it's important. And he turned around and said, yeah, and gave us the money to do it. And I think without so many people believing in us, we wouldn't be where we are now. There's that element of self-belief of like, okay, we were manifesting this, we wanted it, but if we didn't believe in ourselves enough to say yes when the opportunity arose, then we wouldn't be there. But in turn, we wouldn't be there without the people that that have kind of come into our lives.
I think that's it. It's surrounding yourself with the people who also believe in you. You can believe in yourself as much as possible, but you also, as humans, we need that connection. So surrounding yourself with people who will also uplift you and also your biggest cheerleaders is so important. We was like, right, okay, well, let's start the Instagram page. So we went to post our first ever Instagram post and we backed out because the imposter syndrome kicked in and we were like, why would anybody care what we've got to say? Like, what would our friends and family think if we're talking about mental health and feelings? Like, oh, we'll just leave it. But our friend came later on and was like, just post it. So if that person if we didn't surround ourselves with that friend who told us just to post it, we probably wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
So it's surrounding yourself, believing in yourself, but also surrounding yourself with people who believe in you as well.
I mean, it's incredible. So I always say there's good people out there. Good people.
We call them earth angels, don't we?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they come into your life.
They have no idea that they're doing it.
Yeah, and they just do something or say something, and it changes everything.
I want to talk about business partners. So obviously, you've got your investor, so you've got that partner, and I guess that's important when someone starts a business that they choose that right investor and that right business partner. But you're also a couple and your business partners. So, well, is that funny? Am I a comedian?
I just can't believe we're still married. After the last 2.5 years.
So how do you manage the dynamic?
Do you know how many times people ask this question?
Because people, where I'm sitting going, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I won't lie. There was a period of the business where we literally came home one day and looked at each other and said, are we going to get a divorce? We was that stressed and there was that much pressure on us and we forgotten how to be Aimie and Kiera. We was just business owners. We went home and we were still doing business. We was talking about business. During breakfast, we was thinking about business. And we just literally set boundaries around it. If we hadn't set boundaries, I don't think we would have got through it.
And I think we're still learning and we're still growing. And Aimie and I, sometimes people see us as one person because we're also Feel Good Club. And I think it's important for us to remember that we can also have very different opinions and we deal with situations in completely different ways. And it's finding like a common ground. And I think the fact that we've been together for so long, so Aimie and I met at uni when I was 18 years old. We've been together for almost 14 years, married for almost 5. And we've grown up together. We have seen each other in such different periods of change in our life that I think that's a big factor of navigating it. And it's just communication. It's just communicating even when you don't want to and it feels difficult. It's just doing that and being patient.
As well as Kiera said, people, and I think we thought we was like, because it's one business, we were like, oh, well, we have to do everything, like finances, accounts, HR, everything. We've got to do it together because it's our business. Where 2 years in, after the nearly divorce chat, we was like, let's find our strengths and weaknesses, like you would do in a relationship, and then let's play on them. You forgot that I could go off and do that on a Monday and you can go and do something else while I'm doing that. You kind of forget because it's both your babies. You just want every bit of your opinion. Where now like Kiera looks after the HR and the shop more and I look after the finances and the clothing more. So it's finding your strengths and weaknesses and then playing on them. Yeah. Just like a relationship.
So can I ask about the boundaries then? What have you put in place? Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, ask whatever you want.
Amazing.
We don't I mean,
you're going to regret that.
Is it 18 plus? The things with boundaries is like we no longer speak about business obviously when we get home. We have our phones, no phones at 9 o'clock when we get in bed because our shop sometimes is open till like 10 o'clock at night and then our team send a handover if we've not been there and we'll be like 10:30 at night reading through the handover and then something will be in there and you'll be like, oh, then your mind's ticking and then we're having a conversation about business again. So we have no phones in bed. Nothing, as soon as we leave the office, because we have an office now next door to the coffee shop, we don't do business anymore. Obviously, it's really difficult at times, but it's more just like day to day, making sure you're setting those boundaries.
It doesn't always work. We slip into old habits, but I think that's part of being like a human, but it's how you can like realize that, have the conversation and then make the changes. Like no one's perfect and we're definitely not perfect, but we're growing and not trying to put the pressure on ourselves to like know everything at once and being like, okay, it's all right if we get this wrong, or it's okay if we do it this way, and then it's working out what works for you.
Fantastic. Well, you're all about community, and you've created this space, like we said, which allows people to feel comfortable, feel safe, be able to be themselves. So what is the first step businesses could take to build communities like that, which are inclusive, like the Feel Good Club?
I think that it's such an important question, and I think it's a big question as well. I think in order to create inclusive communities, you really need to care about it. And like I said earlier about kind of when you asked the question about even when we don't feel like speaking about how we feel, it's having moments of kind of discomfort yourself in order to make other people feel comfortable. So we have a physical space and we've got a big team, and there's so many different areas. So for one example is, are you hiring queer people and are you talking openly about pronouns? Are you learning how to have those conversations? If someone misgenders your team or your employees, are you having that conversation, but having that conversation carefully as well, so that the person that you're having that conversation with doesn't feel fearful of getting it wrong and knows that there's space to get things wrong and learn. A physical space, representation is important, and being able to come into a space and feel comfortable, you need to see it to be it. So, who have we got on our lineup on our events? Are there queer people, trans people, people of colour? We have a reading corner. Who's writing those books? What's the content of it? And I think it's having that, holding that really important, to be able to speak to your team and where your team know where you stand on it as well. So when anyone joins our team in their first induction, we say straight away, we have zero tolerance on racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism. And if you ever experience within that within our space, you can come to us and it's zero tolerance. And I'm going to have your back. If that's an interaction with a customer that makes you feel uncomfortable, do you know that your leader has your back? You can come to me and I will deal with that situation. And
There's a couple of things I wanted to just expand upon that. First of all, you set precedent on being a leader. Leaders, and you want the people who work for you to know that, like you say, you've got their back. So what attributes do you think a business leader needs or should have?
Honesty. I think as well, I remember when we first started this business, the first 6 months, I would come in and I would feel like I am a completely different person. I'd have no idea who I was when I got home at night because I was just trying to be somebody I thought I should be now I own a business. And I remember 6 months in turning to Kiera and being like, I feel like I've lost my jokey, banter personality, or I'm changing my voice slightly. And I remember feeling like it all the time. And then after 6 months, I was like, wait a minute, I got this business. Obviously it's we because there's two of us, but as me as an individual, I got this business and I got myself at this table. So why am I now changing it? So I think for me as a leader, it's being your authentic self. And the more you are yourself, the more you'll find your tribe. I am not going to be liked by everybody, and I don't want to be liked by everybody. I think when I first opened the business, we was trying to please the customers. We was trying to please your audience, trying to please each other. Everything's about pleasing everybody else, where now I look at it as in, as long as I feel happy and as long as I feel like I'm following my purpose, the rest of the people will follow with me. So for me, being a leader is being your true self and also showing emotion.
There's no handbook, there's no guidebook to what a leader is. And I remember in previous places that I'd worked, I'd always thought that a leader had to be somebody who gets on no matter what. And to a certain degree you do. But there are certain situations where you have to show your team that it's okay not to feel okay every day. And I hope you don't mind me sharing, but recently Amy's mum was diagnosed with cancer, and that's been an incredibly difficult time for both of us. And one of the things, and I have the most respect for Amy for doing this, one afternoon she wasn't feeling great at all. So she messaged the team and just said, look, I'm going to spend a few hours in the office. I'm not feeling great. This is what's going on. I want all of you to know that if I'm giving off a different energy today, it's got nothing to do with any of you. And I think having that conversation, one, I know what it feels like when a boss comes into a room and you're like, they might not feel like they did the day before. And you're like, oh my God, have I done something? Have I done something? You don't want people questioning that. And number two, it allows them to also open up with you.
Yeah.
And I think to be a good leader, you have to have open, honest communication with your team. They need to be able to trust that if something's wrong, they can come to you as well. And if they're not feeling great, they can come to you as well. Like,
It reminds people that you're a human.
I was just about to say that we're all human,
Yeah.
and whatever level you're at, we have feelings.
Yeah.
You know, we experience bereavement, we experience, you know, sadness, we experience happiness and stuff. And if everyone knows that everyone's the same, you don't know how you can help that person just by being honest.
Exactly.
Now, you started as a social community online and on Instagram, and it grew to this physical space. You know, what was that like? Because obviously, you know, being vulnerable online, there's that barrier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the comments, whatever, people want to say anything. But it's like you said, that lady was looking at you because she could see you in the flesh. You know, it has a different impact. How have you managed that? And what's your secret to building such a loyal and engaged community? Because obviously those people who follow you online, they probably want to come to the cafe. You know, like, even I watch it, I'm going, I go to Manchester. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
we get a lot of people traveling from all over just to come, don't we? But it was scary. It like I said, all of this kind of happened, like, I don't want to say by accident or that it was like luck, because I think in the same breath, so much hard work went into it, but it wasn't necessarily the plan. We didn't really have a plan, did we? And it grew so quickly. So we opened our space in lockdown. We opened up, and the day before we were due to go into the second lockdown, which we only found out as we'd opened our doors, I was in the kitchen making the avocado toast crumpets. We actually had a birthday party for our dog. It was her first birthday party, so we was like, right, we're going into lockdown.
We had 30 dogs in the coffee shop, and I was like slamming the coffee machine, and Kiera was making avocado and crumpets, and we had 30 dogs running around, literally peeing everywhere in the coffee shop. And before we started the dog party, Kiera did this post about going into lockdown too, and then we both was just not on our phones because it was just a hectic day. And then our phones just kept going ding, 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 ding all day. And we were like, what's going on? What's going on? At the end of the day, we literally got in bed, looked at our phones, and loads of celebrities had shared this post, and this post was just going viral. And in 24 hours, we got 130,000 followers in 24 hours.
Yeah, it was scary.
But we never changed. We never changed the content or the material we're still putting out. And I think that's where the community then built. That's my advice of people, like, however big you get and however your business will constantly go in different directions, but whatever that direction is, don't lose your purpose. So are we still making at least one person every day feel good? Yeah. Okay, well, we're doing our jobs. Yeah. I think the bigger you get, the more pressure you have, the more coffee shops you have, and the more team members you have, all this pressure on you, you can get so lost where, especially online, like with your community and building that, just make sure you are so crystal clear on your purpose and why you're doing it. Because otherwise, like I said before, your tribe will find you. If you're doing that and if you're happy and you're passionate, they're going to come find you. So put less pressure on yourself and just be crystal clear on your why.
And so that's what we base all of our business decisions on.
We do have to interrupt questions for a segment we like to call Trending Takes. Now, our team has scoured the web for topics, tweets, talking points to provoke some more interesting conversation. Now, are you happy to get involved? In fact, I'm not even asking that.
Yeah.
You are going to get involved.
Give me a choice.
No, I was just trying to be polite. Right, okay. This is the first trending take.
I'm nervous.
Are you?
Yeah, I've got a heart.
Oh, hello. But this is a good one for you. A little fear is a good thing.
100%. 100%. Sitting in your comfort zone will not make you grow. It will not allow you to grow if you're just sitting in that same zone all the time. Where if you're fearful of something, for example, we had no experience in hospitality, we have no experience in nightlife, we have no business experience, but we were scared to do it, but we did it anyway, it's going to help you grow. So I 100% agree with that.
Fear is like the unknown, isn't it? So like once you know it, it's not scary anymore. And I think it's just taking that one step into it. And like comfort zone is a good thing at times because you've got to prepare yourself. You've got to make sure you're ready, but then you eventually have to step out of that and into fear, and then you know it.
And don't you find as well, so if you go into an environment where it's fear or you're doing something where you're like, oh my goodness, and then when you nail it, oh my gosh, that feeling is immense.
I've got a really, this is what I'm going for at the moment. So not many people know this, top secret.
Oh, tell them. It'll only stay between us.
So everybody knows this bit of it. I am absolutely petrified of public speaking. like petrified of it.
Get out of here.
I know, you wouldn't think it, would you? But I remember being a teenager and I remember I overheard a conversation that my really rich uncle from Ireland had with my mum from Salford in a council estate and was talking about me and said, she's going to go really far in life, or she could go really far in life, but she won't get anywhere in life with the accent. So why don't I pay for classes for her to basically speak properly, and then she'll go far, elocution lessons. So my mum turned around and said, no, she'll be herself, and she'll get far just by being herself.
And what did I say to you? I said, you're literally...
Yeah.
I said, I could hear you speak all the time because you remind me of my grandparents and it brought back good memories.
Yeah.
That made me feel comfortable, by the way. I didn't tell you that at the time because you had no idea, but I was like, oh, that's made me feel comfortable. But I absolutely don't sleep at night beforehand. Every time we've got to speak, but I'm not going to not do it because I want to grow and I know I should be spreading this story. So
You now to you last year is already unreal. And last night you did sleep. You woke up this morning and said, I had the best sleep ever.
A little tip for that. When you are scared of something, by the way, change the words. I used to wake up in the morning and say, I feel so nervous about going and doing this talk. When I wake up and go, I am so excited about going and doing this talk. Because nerves and excitement is the exact same feeling in your body and in your mind. So as you're just telling yourself that you're nervous. So now I try and say, I'm excited about doing this talk. But really, my stomach, I'm like, yeah.
Aimie, I'm going to start crying in a minute. Love you. Okay. Ready for trending take 2?
Ready.
Empathy for your workforce is the most effective productivity hack. I mean, you've answered this already, really.
We have kind of, haven't we? But I think I can go into a little bit more.
Go on.
So empathy is like understanding what people are going through and feeling like. I think it's different to sympathy in a way. And I think it doesn't necessarily make people more productive, I don't believe. But there is such a, what's the word? There is something incredible about experiencing exactly what your team go through day to day. So we would never ask our team to do something that we aren't prepared to do. I've been the chef. I've been the head chef at once. Like, had no idea how to run a kitchen. We've done the coffee. We've done the serving. We still clean up. Like, we have experienced everything. So when our team are having a super busy day, I can feel empathy for them and they know that I understand as well. So, yeah, I don't think it necessarily means that people are going to be more productive, but I think your team knowing that even if they're having a bad day that day and you know that they understand, they know that you understand, then on the days that they are feeling productive, they're going to be super productive. Yeah. But people can't be like 100% every single day, can they?
No. Okay. You can start a successful business without any experience.
No, never. Can't do it.
God,
don't bother trying.
Experience.
We 100%, like for us, we've always said passion outweighs experience every single time. You can be the most experienced, you could be a chef for 20 odd years, but if you lose the passion for it, you're no longer going to be a good chef because you've lost the passion. So for us, as long as you've got passion, you can do anything you want. Mm-hmm. Obviously, an experience, you gain experience. We've literally, we're not exaggerating, had no idea what we were doing to the point where we had no idea how to build a website, even to post on Instagram at one point, what hashtags to use, when I've packed the clothing, what post office do I take it to? No idea. But we're here now, so we're living proof.
We didn't even have hospitality experience.
Nope. You gain the experience.
You gain it.
Learn as you go.
You can breathe a sigh of relief because that wraps up the Trending Take section. And if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, make sure you continue the conversation in the comment section below. Listening to you and also from reading about you and looking at your social presence, mental health is just key for you. It's your mantra. It's just as important as physical health. But what impact do you think having healthy mental health has on the running of a successful business? I know what the answer is going to be, but I just want to hear, you break it down because we're in an era where this is at the forefront of everybody's mind, and it will affect productivity if you don't have a group of people around you who feel good about themselves.
Do you know what it is? When we first started, because obviously Kiera suffered with her mental health, but I had never suffered with mental health before. And about, I'd say probably 4 months ago, I had the news about my mum, and I think it kind of dropped me. I was completely burnt out. And then I had the news about my mum, and it was just like, it floored me. And we went to Cyprus, and we sat there, and we both was like, what have we done? Like, we've had this coffee shop for 2.5 years now, haven't we? And we was like, have we made the right decision? Should we have ever opened the coffee shop? Do we have any idea what we're doing? This was literally about 3 months ago. And we was like, we'll close the coffee shop. We'll stop the clothing. We'll stop everything. Let's just start
Really?
again.
You just were just thinking that's
Yeah.
it?
They literally was like, we've obviously done everything wrong because we're feeling so terrible. But then eventually, again, we sat back down, took a breath first, and then wrote down everything that we wanted to do, everything that we wanted to be, why we started it. And when we look back at it, it was like we was just burning ourselves out. And I think it's, as long as you feel happy every single day when you wake up for what you're doing, nobody else matters. Everything else is just noise.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And now I struggle with my mental health. It's as well, I also think like a lot of people think feeling good is yoga or meditating or reading books, because that's kind of, especially our generation, that's kind of like all I really knew to like make yourself feel good. That's why we chose to open a physical space, because we wanted to help people find what makes them feel good, whatever that looks like. If it is meditating, if it is reading a book, if it's cabaret, if it's drawing, if it's just meeting new people, whatever it is, that's what our physical space was supposed to bring. And I think that's so important for your mental health, to find what makes you feel good. And it doesn't have to be huge. It can be walking your dog. It can be having that coffee on your own in the morning. But mental health is so important in business, because if you've not got your cup filled, then how are you supposed to encourage anybody else?
And all of these things are what helps and normalise talking about it, helps it before it gets to crisis point, you know.
And that's why you want to create this space so people can go in and just be like, do you know what, I'm thinking that, or I'm feeling that. And that's really refreshing, because I think people don't talk as much.
No one checks in. Everyone checks in on Facebook or Instagram and the restaurant or a coffee shop or, you know, a fancy park. But no one actually, I think we've all forgotten how to just check in with ourselves. And that's how you can stop bad days and good days as well. Because like, if you're checking in with yourself, you can feel how you're feeling on that day. And then your day will be around how you're feeling then. If you're feeling tired, you're not going to go and run a marathon that day. But we're not checking in ourselves. So we have no idea. So we'll go and run the marathon, and then we'll come home being like, oh, I'm going out. That was terrible.
So trusting your gut when it comes to hiring, what other tips have you got?
I think it ties back into when we were talking about being clear with your values as a business. Externally, people can see what our values are. And I think that attracts people who are aligned with us. And then that really helps build a team who all care about the purpose and want to drive it forward. And then I think having the team included in certain decisions as well, if you're bringing in new management or supervisors, I think it's super important to have sessions where they get to meet the team so everybody feels comfortable. And if someone's going to be leading that team, then everyone needs to get on. And I think just giving them the space to have fun. Like we had this comment or a story that someone posted in the club, and the woman said that she was like, I absolutely love coming to places where you can see the team are having a good time. They aren't just focused on like getting the 5-star on the food, on the service, on everything, that there's something lovely about seeing a team having fun with each other. And I think that's it. I think creating an environment where, you know, hospitality is really hard work. And I think giving the space to have fun as well, and not just be like, you always have to be on and doing something. It works for the team and for the customers as well.
It's been a real journey for you, isn't it? Even like we just touched upon the COVID lockdown, you know, the struggles through that period and all that insight it gave you. So I'd love you to share where you see Feel Good Club in the next 5 years. I mean, it seems like you've jumped over enough hurdles now to be like, okay, where are we going? What's happening?
Your answer to that question is we've got no idea, and we love that we have no idea.
Do you know, I know for certain in 5 years, we are still going to be making choices based off things that fulfill us. We're going to be surrounded by incredible people. Like our team are unreal. They make the space what it is now. And I feel more comfortable now saying, when I talk about Feel Good Club as a physical space, walking into it, the atmosphere in that space is like nothing I've ever experienced. And I never like to say that, because I always thought, oh, that feels like big-headed or like I'm boasting, but it's down to the people that we've got in there. It's down to the team. It's down to the regulars that come in. So I know we're going to be surrounding ourselves with incredible people, and we're going to be doing things based off purpose and things that also make us feel good.
And hopefully
everything else will come.
still making one person feel good every day. That was the first purpose, and it will continue to be the purpose.
So basically what you're saying is Feel Good Club will be around in 5 years' time with its same purpose. And whatever guise that's in,
Exactly.
we're going to celebrate it.
Whatever
That's
sector
it.
that's in, we're going to be there.
Do you know what? I love your reminders that you put on social media.
In a weird way, it's like therapeutic for me to do. Sunday evening reminders, that's probably one of the most popular recurring posts that we do. And it's literally me on a Sunday evening thinking, how do I feel? Or like, what did I need to hear when I was in my full-time job and I was going back into work on the Monday? And it kind of just helps me realign with how I'm feeling as well. And the thing that I love most about that is when people respond to it and people get something from it, I'm like, okay, I feel less alone now because that's how I feel.
It's like what you go back to say, this is, if that's true to your business or your why, then stick to it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I could chat to you all day.
I could chat to you all day. I'm having a lovely time.
It's great, isn't it? Should we do some rapid fire questions?
Oh, yeah.
What is your best mental health reminder?
To take a breath. We go through life so quickly, everything's so fast paced, just stop and take a breath.
Okay.
Are you taking a breath?
Are you taking a breath? Take a big breath.
A real big breath, but I think it's also talking. Like, you have to talk. You can't deal with it all alone. I tried for so long to deal with it on my own, and until I vocalized how I was feeling and told someone, there was no way I was ever going to get any better.
Well, they go in hand because take a breath
And then let it
and then let it out. What do you most enjoy about owning and running your own business?
The freedom to try new things. The freedom of testing exactly what I'm doing now. The freedom of getting out of my comfort zone. I can choose when to do that.
I think my favorite thing is like having this idea, having this thing in your head and like seeing it come to life.
Yeah.
Like it shocks me every time. Like, you've got this thing in your head and you can kind of picture it and you can see it, but then you can see it come to life.
Yeah.
Like, I love that feeling. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, favorite business hack?
Know everything about your business. Know everything that goes on. Don't start a business and then instantly give the jobs to everybody else and expect them to know how to do it. Like, you've got to know every part of your business and how it works, because if everything hits the fan, like, it's down to you, and you've got to step up and do it.
Know the ins and the outs.
Yeah.
Okay. The one thing you wish you knew starting out?
That being a leader doesn't mean you have to be somebody that you're not. Would be mine. If I knew that straight away, I'd just continue to be myself. But I instantly, because that's all I'd known from my previous jobs, I instantly was trying to be somebody else. So if I could go back now, I wish I was just me from day one. As soon as we opened those doors, I wish I was just me trying to be me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Amazing. Your confession was around thinking you made the worst decision of your life. Do you forgive yourself, regret it, or wish to forget it?
I forgive
I was going to say
ourselves because that all came from like self-doubt. It came from burning ourselves out and trying to do everything, and ultimately that led us down a path of burnout where we couldn't see all the good things that we have. You know, when we were crying and saying like, is this right? Is this right? Nothing was going wrong. Everything was going perfectly. The team were happy. The business is running smoothly. We're profitable. It was just how we had made ourselves feel by not stopping. And the best piece of advice that we had in that period, one of our supervisors, she was going off to travel, and she came into the office one afternoon, and Amy it sounds like we cry all the time, we really don't, but you were crying, you were upset, weren't you? And even I was crying, and she turned around and she said, guys, like, from an outsider's perspective, someone who's on your team, who cares about you, you are always looking at how you can grow. And I know why you do it, because you want to create a better environment for us. You want to create a better business. You want to be able to provide support for more people. But what you're doing is you're missing the magic of what you've created. You're in this office now and next door feels magical and you're not there. You're just trying to grow and putting all this pressure on yourself. And since she said that to us, like, I think that was almost like a turning point
Yeah.
recently where we've been like, oh my God, yeah, like we don't need to constantly be growing and ticking all these things off. Like we need to experience what we've created.
Yeah.
And just appreciate the now.
Yeah,
Enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
that's it.
Exactly.
Kiera and Aimie, it's been an absolute ball. And I've learned so much from you. And the energy, we started off saying there was energy. Oh my gosh. I'll move from this positivity.
Honestly, we've had such a blast. I
Yeah.
could sit here all day. Thank you so much
I've
for having
loved
us.
it.
And thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit follow and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next successful business guest. And if today's episode has positively impacted you and inspired you like it has me, please do head over to the NatWest website for information and tools that help you take those next steps to success.